In 38, I was camping on the river down there with my cousin, because no houses were on the river. We could shoot where we wanted. The people built on the high sand. And so we were, about as dawn was cracking, we were hunting in a boat down the river, and I looked up to shoot a bird and fell out of the boat, and the biggest alligator just about in memory came after me. He's rolling over. As I was getting back in the boat, he's right by the boat. Uncle Bud, Clarence Delegal, was looking for something to shoot, so he's 6 inches away from this big monster, and he blasted with both barrels of a double-barreled shotgun. And
did it in our garage at home, but it was a shop project from school. My uncle was financing me. There was only one in Broward County, and I went out to Davie to see it, and I got my ideas from it, so I came back and I built it. So I moved it up to where Hillsborough Inlet is now, north of there, back out in the woods. There's no dike then or anything. And at that time there were about 3 airboats out of Okeechobee that were real small airboats that were frog hunters commercially. And there was about 15 Indian canoes, dugouts that they used at same landing where I put my boat in. There was a man out in the glades that was commercial, an old fella from, well, he wasn't old, I don't guess, but he was old to me then, from California, and he commercial hunted. And he got alligators and coons and wildcats and stuff like that, and brought them in to sell them. And I got to know him, and I hated alligators. So I'd shoot alligators, and it was legal then, and give them to him. And I killed as many as 11 in one day. But
it was pretty rugged out there with this woods and sand and coons and rabbits and, let's see, armadillo one time. And my kids would play right on 12th Avenue where the Oakland Park parking lot is, was Indian Mount. And my kids would play there in that sand. That sand was just as pure and white. It was so pretty.
Back when I was a child, my uncle had horses stabled over where 45th Street is. And he had tenant houses over there where his farm workers lived. I can remember after Hy and I married that we went dove hunting in the fields over there before there was any development whatsoever. You had to go up to Clewiston at Lake Okeechobee and drive back down through the Indian Reservation at Brighton to get down to the Big Cypress where the game was. Wild turkey, deer were the principal things that they liked to hunt.
Across the Oakland Park Boulevard, crossing the Intercoastal Waterway. It was 1 lane wide, steel truss beam constructed. It had wooden deck. There was a boat would come by, there would be a person would walk out, and they had a long handle that would fit down in the center of the bridge, and then they walked around in a circle, and that in turn worked the gears underneath that would swing the bridge, and the bridge would turn at 90-degree angles with the road. It would be straight with the waterway, and the boats could go on either side. After the boats went through, then they'd have to turn around and walk in the reverse direction, and I don't know, they'd probably walk around a circle about 150 times to turn that thing back and line it up again, and then they would lock it in place, and traffic could go again. At the time, Oakland Park Boulevard was just barely 2 lanes wide, so there wasn't much traffic on it. But
married in 48, came to Florida, and I thought my husband had brought me to the backwoods. I had no idea what Florida was like, except talking to one person, and they had told me about septic tanks. The city didn't have a sewer system, and everybody had an individual septic tank, which was a large concrete tank buried in the ground that treated your sewage and had drain fields out into the yard. And periodically it had to be cleaned out, and you had to dig up drain fields. It was a big headache. I asked where's the library, and they told me, well, it was downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I asked around there, and it was like pulling hen's teeth because nobody seemed to know anything about the library. Apparently a few people used it. Finally found it, little bitty building down by the river. And I thought, boy, no sidewalks, no library, no postal delivery. You had to walk to the post office. We did have milk delivery. That was a saving grace.